From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old mannered comic shop owner, Colin McMahon, transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us, true believers, for Comics Now!
Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for July 2019. Summer is in full swing. It's really hot. Summer blockbusters are in the movie theaters, and the comic shelves are going to be filled with lots of neat stuff for summer. The publishers always like summer. They like to come out. Their big events are going on. Lots of one-shots and specials and annuals and all sorts of stuff always happens during the summer, and this summer is no different. What's going on at the store? You're going to see I'm going to be doing a lot of sales, cleaning out some old stuff and bringing in some new stuff. I had a real long discussion with a customer on Saturday. He was looking for a lot of books that were actually out of print that he wanted to read. And I realized I probably have the issues down in my storage room down in the basement, and I need to get to that. So you're going to see me moving a lot of stuff out so that I can make more room to bring up a lot of stuff that you haven't seen. So I'm excited about that. Something that's going to take a lot of time, but keep your eyes out for what's changing. There was a real big change with DC. They decided to sunset Vertigo. They just announced that a couple weeks ago, where they're getting rid of the Vertigo line as a brand and just bringing it into DC or Black Label for advanced readers. So what I decided to do, we're going to celebrate Vertigo this month of July. Vertigo really got me back into comics after college, after I finally got some money. Vertigo was the thing that brought me back, the more adult, the more grown-up kind of books and stories that it was telling. So I'm going to celebrate Vertigo, and we're going to be promoting different books every day. I'm going to have a little display. You're going to get double points on all Vertigo books all month long. So come in, take a look, try something different. It's a real broad category, lots of neat stuff, but definitely more on the adult scale. So that's fun. Not as much superheroes, a lot more mystery and horror type stuff. For book club this month, I decided to follow that and tie it into the DC app, which has a great new show called Swamp Thing that's only getting one season, sadly. But so I'm going to do Alan Moore's Saga of the Swamp Thing, Volume 1. This was one of the books that really started Vertigo. Because of its adult nature, they realized they needed to create something different with this and Sandman and Animal Man, and that's really what created the brand. So I decided for book club this month, it's going to be July 26th, Friday. We're going to do Saga of the Swamp Thing Volume 1. It's also one that I really want to reread again. They're using a lot of it on the TV show, so I kind of just wanted to revisit it. So that's book club this month. There is a ton going on, so let me get right to it. I'm going to start with Marvel because they have one of their biggest things in a while coming out. Not an event per se, but a relaunching of their X-Men line. Jonathan Hickman is kind of taking it. They're ending all their X books, and he's kind of redefining what the X-Men are here in the past and going forward. So we'll see where this goes, but this is starting in July. It's going to be 2 6-issue miniseries. They're going to be alternating every week. There's House of X and Powers of X. With House of X, it's Jonathan Hickman's writing it, and it's drawn by Pepe Larraz. And the idea behind this one is Charles Xavier reveals his master plan for mutant kind, one that will bring mutants out of the shadows of mankind and into the light once more. So this is, big picture. If you've read any of his stuff from Secret Wars, Fantastic Four, Avengers, it's really been big picture stuff. So this is going to be interesting. The X-Men have needed kind of a boost, and it looks like they're getting it. The other one is called Powers of 10. And it's by R.B. Silva, is the one drawing it. And it reveals the secret past, present, and future of mutant kind, changing the way you look at every X-Men story before and after. You do not want to miss the next seminal moment in the history of the X-Men. So you're not allowed to miss this one, I guess. And then they're going into a lot of other neat stuff. They've been reprinting Marvels, along with a lot of back matter and stuff, because it's the anniversary of it. So they're actually doing an epilogue to it. And it's an extra issue that's looking at the 70s, the all-new X-Men that started in Giant Size X-Men #1. He kind of ended Marvels at the death of Gwen Stacy, and so this is kind of the next chapter. So it's Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross are doing this. There's also a neat book coming out called The History of the Marvel Universe. It's a 6-part miniseries. It's by Mark Waid. is writing it, and it's going to go through the entire Marvel history, almost like it's not a handbook or something like that. It is a story, but it's going to be answering a lot of questions that you might have and presenting a lot of stuff that you might not have seen before. Facsimile editions. These is something neat that Marvel's doing, and DC is going to start doing them soon. Where they're basically just reprinting the original issue with all of its ads and everything. It's just like a copy of that original issue for books that you probably can't get. Books that are interesting, key books that you'd like to have in your collection. So this month, because it's X-Men month, they're doing Giant Size X-Men #1, New Mutants '98, which is the first Deadpool, X-Men #1, and X-Men 137, which is the Death of Phoenix. So some really great books that they're doing. True Believers this month are their dollar reprint books, and they're all Carnage themed this month. There's going to be a ton of them all featuring Carnage, because in August we're getting Absolute Carnage, their big event. So they're kind of setting the stage for that. Then they're doing a bunch of little one-shots and things. The first one, great meaning to me, is Giant Size Ecstatics. I was a huge Ecstatics fan. Just real fun. Peter Milligan and Mike Allred. Just a different book than I've ever read before. A lot of fun. Dupe was one of the main characters, so you know what you're getting there. And basically they're just revisiting, doing it just for one giant size one-shot on this. Fantastic Four Prodigal Son is going to be going through 3 books. There's Fantastic Four, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Silver Surfer, where this alien lands in the Savage Land, and the barbarians there start worshiping it. And Kazar realizes that this is trouble, and he calls in the Fantastic Four to help deal with it. Wolverine and Captain America Weapon Plus. This is going to go into their origins and how their origin stories may be linked somehow. They're bringing back the Secret Warps. During Infinite Wars, one of the things that Gamera did was join the people. So people got merged. And in this, so we're revisiting this with a series of annuals. We're getting Soldier Supreme, which was Doctor Strange and Captain America merged, and Weapon Hex, Ghost Panther, Arachnite, and Iron Hammer are all getting annuals, just little one-shots. So if you enjoyed those stories, we're getting a chance to see these characters again. File story, they found Captain America and the Invaders and the Bahamas Triangle, where Captain America, Namor, and Bucky have to take on a German U-boat in the Bermuda Triangle. Well, I guess Bahamas Triangle, they're calling it. So just a little fun story there. Thor 15 is the epilogue to his story with War of Realms. War of Realms just wrapped up, and we're getting a couple epilogues coming up. We're also getting War of Realms epilogue. It wasn't big enough to finish the story, so they needed one more. Wolverine versus Blade, and the solicit on this basically just said, "Nuff said." So, 2 guys fighting. Marvel Tales, which is a little reprint book, are doing Captain America and the Hulk this month. We're getting Amazing Spider-Man 25, which is a big anniversary issue for that. Web of Venom Funeral Pyre is leading into the Absolute Carnage event. Guardians of the Galaxy 7, Death of Rocket. It's a big storyline coming in with that, so we'll see what happens there. Acts of Evil. Now, Acts of Vengeance was a big storyline back in the 90s, where basically the villains switched up the heroes that they fought to create a problem, because the heroes didn't know how to handle these, and where power sets didn't match and things like that. So Marvel is revisiting that with a series of annuals this summer. And this month we're getting Punisher annual, where he's taking on the Brood Queen from the X-Men. Venom annual is taking on Lady Hellbender, who looks like a Ghost Rider villain. And Ms. Marvel is taking on the Super Skrull, who's an old X-Men villain, or a Fantastic Four villain. So they should be fun, just kind of revisiting and having a little bit of fun with fighting. Some new series that are starting up. We have Loki. This one is by Daniel Kibblesmith. At the beginning of War of the Realms, Loki was killed. And so apparently he's learned from that. And he's learned that when you're warmongering, don't get caught. So now he's back with kind of a new mission. And we'll see where he goes from there. War of Realms Omega, like I said, this is going to be leading and spinning out a lot of books. It's written by Jason Aaron, Al Ewing, Jerry Duggan, and Daniel Kibblesmith. So I think they're going to be setting the stage in there for their upcoming series. Valkyrie #1. This is by Jason Aaron and Al Ewing, and this is Jane Foster, who was Thor for a little bit, has now been made a Valkyrie. Punisher Kill Crew. This is by Jerry Duggan. Punisher was given powers during War of the Realms, and now he's kind of embraced them. And so now he's going on to take on monsters and demons and gods. Fearless #1 is kind of a little anthology book featuring some of the female heroes in the DC or in the Marvel universe: Captain Marvel, Storm, and Invisible Woman. And they're even doing a Millie the Model backup. This is just a little mini series. Invisible Woman #1. Mark Waid is doing a 5-issue miniseries about Mrs. Fantastic, and it's going to be a story earlier in her career where she was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. doing a job, and now her partner back then is now threatened in present day, and she has to save him. Avengers 22. We're done with War of the Realms, and now it's going on to the next thing, which is Ghost Rider. The Challenge of the Ghost Riders begins, where Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, wants to kind of exorcise Ghost Rider from him. He doesn't want to be Ghost Rider anymore, but Johnny Blaze, who's the King of Hell in the first Ghost Rider, has plans for him in the Avengers. Death's Head. This is a 90s Marvel UK book. Just a bizarre book. This is coming back as a miniseries. There's also, spinning out of War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas, which was a old team that was kind of reformed for this event. 2 of the new characters are getting their own ongoing series. There's Arrow #1 and Swordmaster #1. So, just 2 new Asian characters spinning out of that. Age of X-Man ends with Age of X-Man Omega, and wrapping up that part of the X-Men stories. Uncanny wraps up with 22, and X-Force wraps up with #10. And that kind of puts the bow on this era of the X-Men, and then we lead into the new stuff. Jim Zub and Patrick Zurcher take over Savage Sword of Conan with a story, and Greg Pak and Phil Noto take over Star Wars. Star Wars is continuing its little Age of storylines, and now we're getting into the new stuff, and we're getting into Age of Resistance. So we're getting a Finn book, a Captain Phasma book, and then a special featuring Vice Admiral Amelin Holdo, who was the one with the purple hair that died. Maz Kanata and BB-8 are going to be in this special. And then Star Wars is getting a new Darth Vader miniseries called Target Vader, where Vader is on the hunt for a mysterious criminal syndicate, but this syndicate has hired the deadliest bounty hunters in the galaxy to take out Vader. So we'll see who wins. I have an idea who will. Now on to DC. DC has a lot of neat stuff going on this month too. We're getting Curse of the White Knight. This is Sean Gordon Murphy's sequel to Batman White Knight, which was just an awesome series, a big surprise hit. So he's doing a sequel where Joker has hired Azrael to help him expose some Wayne family secrets that'll bring down Gotham. Year of the Villain is the big thing that DC has going on, where Lex Luthor has gotten some information, has made an offer to all the bad guys of knowledge and power and tools to finally take over the world, defeat the good guys, and finally win. And so this is not so much a story. It's mostly going through Justice League, if you just want to read that story. But then it's also going to be touching on all the different villains in the DC universe, and they're going to be through different books. So you don't have to read them all, but if you're interested, there's a lot of books that it touches on. In July, it's going to be in Action, Aquaman, Batman, Batgirl, Batman and the Outsiders, Catwoman, Deathstroke, Detective Comics, The Flash, Harley Quinn, Hawkman, Justice League Dark, Nightwing, Red Hood, Outlaw, Supergirl, Superman, Teen Titans, The Terrifics, and Wonder Woman. The other thing they're doing with these is the variants that they always have are going to be on hard cardstock, and they're going to be like headshots of the villains. So it's going to be a nice kind of a theme for that. They have a couple new young adult books. There's Batman Nightcrawler, and then there's a new kids book called The Secret Spiral of Swamp Kid. So they're really pushing these, which is great because this is the biggest growing area in graphic novels, is the young adult and the kids stuff. Next up, they did the Walmart books, where Brian Michael Bendis did a Batman story and Tom King did a Superman story that were reprinted in these big giant size reprint books that were sold only at Walmart. Well, they're collecting them now for us, so they're going to be 6-issue miniseries. We're getting Batman Universe by Bendis and Nick Darrington, which is Batman versus the Riddler story, and Superman Up in the Sky by Tom King and Andy Kubert. We're also getting the Wonder Woman one that they did. Wonder Woman Come Back to Me by Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, and Chad Hardin, who are the team from Harley Quinn, doing a Wonder Woman story trying to save Steve Trevor from the Bermuda Triangle. Young Animal is back. Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, started this up a while ago, and it's back. We're getting Doom Patrol is coming back. We're also getting a new one called Collapser, where a guy is mailed a black hole, and it attaches itself to his chest, giving him power, fame, and all sorts of problems. A couple books spinning out of the Leviathan storyline by Brian Michael Bendis in Action Comics. We're getting Jimmy Olsen by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber. I think this might be Matt Fraction's one of his first DC books, and it's just Jimmy being Jimmy. And then Lois Lane is by Greg Rucka and Mike Perkins, where she has a secret about Superman she's trying to protect that could threaten him. Batman 75 starts the City of Bane, which is going to be the big finale of Tom King's Batman run, ending at number 85. We also have Batman Secret Files number 2, which is going to be all about Bane's cabal of Joker, Riddler, Hugo Strange, and the Psycho Pirate. So if you're liking Batman, you're probably going to want to pick that up too. Now we switch into Image Comics. A new one, Sea of Stars. This is by Jason Aaron and Dennis Hallam. Basically a long haul trucker. Realize this is a long, boring trip. He brings his son along with him, but his ship gets bitten in half, and all of a sudden now he has to save himself and his son in the depths of space. Unearth is a new one by Cullen Bunn. It's about a task force in Mexico where there's a disease has been released, and they find it a complete underground society and all sorts of cool stuff going on there. Reaver number 1. This is the next of the Comic Omnivore books. I'll get to that in one sec. But this is Justin Jordan and Rebecca Isaacs, and this is where almost like a Suicide Squad type thing, 6 of the most despicable prisoners in the country are being needed to stop an unspeakable evil. Now, Comics Omnivore is a neat thing. This was started by Coliseum of Comics down in Florida, realizing that there are so many books out there and the promotion on them kind of gets lost. So they're picking a couple books a month that we are going to get behind, and it's getting in a big network of retailers. And the publishers are getting behind it too, where they're going to do extra promotion. And so this Reaver number 1 is going to be one of the books in July that we're talking about. So for the first week that it's out, it's going to be an extra $1 off if you want it, just to get you to try it, to see if you like it. Sales on the first 2 that they've done have been great, and we'll see how they go with number 2. But it's just to get books into people's hands, get them reading something different instead of just the same pull list that they get every time. So next, Space Bandits. This is Mark Miller doing an outer space story about a couple like gang leaders in outer space whose gangs turn on them and now they're out for revenge. Bad Weekend hardcover. This is collecting issues 2 and 3 of Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They did My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, and if I ordered enough, I got signed copies. So I did it again with this one. So I'm getting signed copies of the books. This time it's signed by, I think, everybody involved instead of just Sean Phillips like last time. So sadly, I'm also only getting a certain number. So if you're interested, please let me know. But this is a neat book. It's selling great, and these hardcovers really do well. Moving on to Dark Horse, a couple neat ones from Dark Horse. Black Hammer Justice League crossover, with Black Hammer as kind of an homage to the Justice League and the Avengers kind of style. So it's just neat seeing a team up there, written by Jeff Lemire, drawn by Michael Walsh. Critical Role is, I guess, a big online thing, and it's getting a book. Orville is getting a little 2-issue miniseries. It's a story that takes place between season 1 and 2. So if you're liking the show, you might want to try this out. Manor Black is by Cullen Bunn, Brian Hurt, who worked together on Sixth Gun, and Tyler Crook, who worked together on Harrow County. And they're doing a book it's a gothic horror about a family of sorcerers in crisis. No One Left to Fight. This is Aubrey Sitterson who's doing this. And basically it's a story is what happens when the heroes of the world defeat everybody and there's no one left to fight. What do they do with their lives when they have no more battles to do? The Quiet Kind. This is a one-shot, but it's neat. It's got 2 stories about power, revenge, and empathy. And when a young boy gets powers of an ancient god and is also suddenly visited by a group of other children who have these powers, does he use it for good, to learn how to use the powers, or does he use his powers to seek revenge on those who have wronged him and bullied him? So, IDW has a couple new ones. We have Island of Dr. Moreau. This is a retelling of the classic H.G. Wells story. Walt Simonson's Ragnarok is back, which is him kind of revisiting Thor mythology. Star Pig is one with an oddest title, but it's about kid goes off to space camp and something happens and is kind of cast adrift and is rescued by this big space water buffalo, and tales going on from there. Neat one for Pittsburgh area is Enemy of the People, A Cartoonist Journey. This is the story of Rob Rogers, the political cartoonist for 25 years for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and it's his story of his life and all his cartooning and stuff like that. So that was kind of neat that that's coming from IDW. Dynamite, it is the 50th anniversary of Vampirella, and since they hold the rights to her, they're doing a new series. Neat because it's written by Christopher Priest, who's been a real big writer over the years. So that should be big. Lots of great covers on this one, so hopefully the story's good too. Also, they're doing, and they love to mash up weird things, so we're getting Charlie's Angels versus the Bionic Woman, so why not? Boom has some interesting ones. Ghosted in LA, this is by Sina Grace. Girl moves to LA after a bad breakup, doesn't have any money, finds this abandoned house, moves in, rents right, it's got a pool, but it's also haunted. So is she worse off now with these new roommates who are all ghosts, or is she better off? And read and find out. And also R.L. Stine is doing an original graphic novel called Just Beyond the Scare School. So that's neat. Just R.L. Stine, who did Goosebumps, is now getting into an original graphic novel. Aftershock, Knights Temporal is one from them by Cullen Bunn. Basically, a knight comes back from the Crusades and he's just aghast by the things he has done during that. So he vows to eradicate evil wherever he finds it. He follows a sorcerer into these woods and comes out in present day. And so he has to learn how to get by in present day as well as keep chasing the sorcerer. Ahoy is bringing Second Coming. This was originally at Vertigo, and then DC got cold feet and didn't want to put it out. So Mark Russell moved it to Ahoy. And basically it's the story of God has commanded Earth's greatest hero to take Jesus as his roommate to learn the ways of the world. And Jesus is quite aghast at how his people have misinterpreted the things that he said that were in the Bible. So this should be fun, edgy, but Mark Russell always puts out a good book. Archie is doing Archie vs. Predator 2. The neat difference with this, the first one was in Archie style. This one is in more horror style. It's drawn by Robert Hack, who did Sabrina. And so it's going to be a little darker version of Archie versus Predator. Humanoids has a new one called Strangelands. This is by Mags Viziago and Vanessa Del Rey. And basically there's two people with the last name Land. They don't get along, and both their lives would be better if they never saw each other again. Unfortunately, their powers are such that as soon as once they separate, there's mass destruction whenever they separate. So they have to stay together and fight and not get along. All sorts of fun stuff. Lion Forge is restarting their Catalyst line under the Gail Simone's auspices. It was one of those things that started off really good and kind of lost focus, so she's refocusing the whole thing. Titan is doing one I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. It's Blade Runner 2019, and this is written by the screenwriter of the last Blade Runner movie. So if you like that, this is going to be more in that vein. So I'm excited about this one. Valiant has a new one called Killers, where 5 deadly assassins are recruited into a game of cat and mouse by the mysterious Jonin. So clearly for no good. So we'll see where that one goes. And Vault has a couple new ones too. Resident #1. A decade has passed since the world was plunged into crisis. A doctor has to make his way out of his compound to try to get medicine, and things go wrong, and it's his struggle to get back to his family. And Sarah and the Royal Stars, where Sarah has been commanded to gather the Royal Stars and return them to heaven. So that's what we have coming out in July. It's going to be jam-packed. Every week is going to have lots and lots of good stuff. I'm really looking forward to this July. Still trying to reorganize and straighten up the store, move stuff around, make things visible for you. Vertigo month, double points on all Vertigo graphic novels, and just ask. There's so much good stuff in that line. And book club is going to be July 26th, where we're doing Saga of the Swamp Thing. So come pick up a copy, read it, and enjoy. So, as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. You can reach me here. The website's pittsburghcomics.com. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics. Twitter and Instagram is PGH Comics. So as always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for Comic Previews Theater. Thanks.
Think you brought enough guns, Holek?
Honestly, no. 3 low-level clans got hit last week. 3. And all by him. No survivors, Euro. None.
Press a business with the hidden hand and the benefit. The pay for silence and the pay for shadows and fronts to keep that silence. We don't know them. They don't know us. Perfect deal.
I don't know. You ask me. Their days are numbered if you know who is gunning for them.
He has a name, you know. The sound of a child afraid of a bedtime story.
Except he ain't no story.
Did you hear that?
Very funny.
No, I thought I...
Euro? Euro?
Where is the hidden hand?
I don't know them. Nobody knows them. They don't use names, just credits. They buy silence, loyalty. Please, you have to believe me. I don't know anything. I swear I don't know. No! No!
I believe